grew up in Munich in quite an emancipated family, emancipated surrounding, but for some reason I grew up thinking, or learning, that women cannot drive cars. I don't want to name names, but repeatedly I heard, it's a woman driver. Like, people drive, somebody doesn't drive very well, somebody goes past and they're like, it's a woman, that's why she can't drive. Or when they park a car and they're like, God, this is going to take forever, it's a woman behind the wheel. And I thought, I don't really understand the relation between your genitals and being behind the wheel, but it stuck to me. And the other thing that happened was blonde jokes. I don't know if you remember them, but as you can see, I'm both a woman and blonde, so that was a very good mix. It comes in handy sometimes. But when I decided to learn to drive, it didn't. And I enrolled in driving school, and I found this amazing, really old, really fat Bavarian driving teacher.
Oh God.
He was so old, I think I was his last student. And he was so fat, his belly was so big that he barely could get behind the wheel, which I think was a bit, kind of a weird choice of him. And he taught me how to drive, and every time I made a mistake, he slapped the back of my head. He was really old school, because he was an old guy. So I learned how to drive with those measures, and also he was really interested in the Taliban and the CIA, so he always kept me up to date what the CIA had come up with to find out about the Taliban. Like, for example, they developed this thing where they can film people walking, and every person has a different walk, so they know who Taliban guy that person is when they film. I don't know how that works, but it was very interesting. I took my driving test, and in Germany you have to take two tests. One is written. It's basically foolproof, they tell you, and when somebody tells me something is foolproof, I will fail, because I'm so scared that I'll fail and embarrass myself that I'm super nervous. But I didn't fail, and so the next day I took the second test, which is with a guy who sits there. He's super, super correct, like the correctest German you've ever seen. He takes note of everything you do. And there's three things you can do, apart from killing somebody during the test. That'll probably fail you too, but like there's three other things that you shouldn't do. Like, one is rechts vor links. Don't miss rechts vor links. It's a right of way, so if somebody comes from the right of way and it's a small street from the right, then they have the right of way. I missed that one, but I didn't notice, which was really good, because I would have probably peed my pants and that would have been it. I didn't notice, I just went on. Second one is Rechtsfahrgebot, again something with during Autobahn, when you go on the Autobahn, you have to drive on the right hand side because other people should overtake you. I did that, but then I ended up on the lane that turned to the exit, and I didn't realize, and I was like super confused, and he was like, take the left lane, you want to go straight, and my driving teacher was like, he didn't slap me in the head because there was the guy there, but he wanted to, I could see it in his face. And I also did something else, but it doesn't matter. I get back to the school and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I failed this test, and he says to me, so you didn't fail the test, but you really should learn a bit more. And I was like, wow, cool. That must have been the part with the blonde hair where it comes in handy. He didn't fail me. So I get my license, and I drive every now and then, and not very successfully, because I don't want to prove anybody, you know, like I'm blonde and a woman and driving, so I don't want to make a mistake, because I'm going to prolong this misinterpretation of female drivers. And I never had an accident until last summer, early summer. I meet this guy, and my parents are on holiday. My dad has this really fancy BMW. It's a cabriolet, and I think this will make for a nice first date, sort of first date. I'll take this guy hiking to the mountains, because he's not from Bavaria, and we go hiking. So we drive to the mountains, and the roads become really small, and even smaller and smaller, and I'm thinking, oh my God, please don't let anybody come down this road, because I'm going to have to back up. Driving backwards is not what I can do. So I drove really slowly, and I remember this, and it'll come in handy later. You have to remember this detail. I drove really slowly, and then I hear the following. I hear some really funky Bavarian music. I hear a and I hear a and the next moment I look to my right, and he's like, what was that? And I was like, I don't know. And I opened the door, and there's this car. He came towards me, but he was so fast that I couldn't even back up. And the road was so small that he sort of ditched me and just came to a halt. We'll find out where and how in a minute. I get out of the car in shock, and out of this car comes a barely 14-year-old looking guy, red-handed, with like, there's powder everywhere, because when you have an accident and the what's it called, balloon thing?
Airbag.
Yeah, when explodes. There's powder everywhere. I had no idea. He's in shock. And I'm in shock, and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, warst du ein bisschen schnell unterwegs, oder? Like, I changed into Bavarian because I'm thinking that'll help. And he's like, yeah, I guess I was in a bit of a hurry. And so we get out of the car and we just start to examine it. And the following happened. Both of his airbags exploded. His front window had a split. His tire had exploded, and the metal part of his wheel had a dent. And all this because he had driven into this big tree, the rest of the tree, which was hidden underneath some grass. He saw me. He was really fast. He did this, and there was a tree. He didn't see it, and he went against it. It was really old and mushy, and I can't believe. It was the speed. Remember the speed, okay? It's obvious. It was that speed that did that to his car. So we get back in the car, we do all the blah-de-blah and like talk, and we hope everything's fine, and then I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? I never had an accident. I call my uncle, because my father's there. My uncle says, well, do you have any witnesses? And I look to the right, and I'm thinking, oh no, new boyfriend, don't want to tell anybody about him, but you have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have a witness. So I fill out the accident report, I write down his name, his address, his everything, and yeah, I get back home, my dad gets back home, he reads the accident report, and he has a big smile on his face, and he's like, oh, so who's this guy in the witness report? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it, it's really new, but the name is kind of a giveaway, because it's not a German name. He sort of smiles to himself, and he doesn't want to tell, he wants to know everything, but I don't want to tell. A few months go by, we let it go. The guy obviously did something crazy, we all know that, but we were like, okay, he's really young. We won't sue him or anything, why would you? I get a letter in the post. That letter is from the mother's lawyer.
Oh my
There's
God.
another Rechts thing in German, it's called Rechtsschutzversicherung. You get that insurance, Germans are crazy about insurance, right? That one's really handy, get that. I got that after that accident. Because whatever you do, you just get a lawyer, you don't have to pay for it, and that lawyer can do whatever they want with the other person who was innocent. So they take me to court. They won 5,000 euros for the car that the little boy broke because he wasn't insured. I forgot that detail earlier. He was like, oh shit, I'm not insured on this car. It's my mother's car. I'm not allowed to drive this car. And I'm like, well, where's your mother? She's on holiday. And like, you can't say she drove it. That's too illegal. I don't do that. So they take me to court. I go to court, and it's really weird because I mean, that's so weird. Like, I'm not going to tell you the boredom of that court date, but one of the things the lawyer said was, so you were going hiking, huh? But the part of the road where you had the accident actually goes downhill. Don't you think that's a controversy? And like, super weird things like that. I get out of the court, and I'm still waiting for their letter to get their 5,000 euros. I haven't heard from them since March, and when we left the court, there was a dead plant, and my dad said that's a really good metaphor for the German jurisdictional system, or what it's called. So yeah, that was my story about driving. Now about the love. The good thing to come out of that first date was I actually ended up finally introducing that man to my parents, and they liked him, and we kind of liked each other too, and we ended up getting married in summer.